Today I was actually watching a video by Cynics Design, I think that's how you say it, on the best brushes to use as a digital artist as a beginner. It was such a valuable and useful video. Like, I genuinely it taught me so much. I wasn't finished with it since I finished my breakfast before I finished the video. Yeah, I just ate leftovers for breakfast. What do you guys eat for breakfast? Love to know down in the comments. But anyway, guys, what up? And welcome back to the Art Mindset Podcast. Art School. Should I leave the podcast with that? Shall I let the gnomes come beat you up? I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Welcome back to the Art Mindset Podcast, you guys. It is me, your host, Sanjana. The garden gnomes are greeting from the garden. If you aren't part of the Art Garden family that provides you lots of art mindset and art tips, my garden gnomes are coming to beat you. I'm not lying. They're waiting outside, ready to beat you. You better hit that subscribe button. So yeah, go hit it. Turn on the notification bell. If you're on Spotify and Anchor, you better hit the follow button and turn on the notification bell because I got a lot of content coming for you guys. But anyway, I think the art gnomes are happy. I'm looking at them. Yes, they are happy. And we're gonna go into the topic. So if you don't know who I am, my name is Sanjana. I am the host of the Art Terraces Art Mindset Podcast. Basically, we're just art terraces here. And today we're going to be talking about basically how do you learn as an artist without going to art school. As a lot of you know, I did not go to art school or college, and I made an entire episode on that. I will link it for the YouTube babes. For the rest of you Spotify and Anchor listeners, unfortunately there's no feature for it, so just check the link in the description or just go through the playlist that I have there. It'll help you out. Now honestly, the question comes back over and over: how do you learn without a strict curriculum to guide you along? Now, I can't give you all the answers since I've been only doing this for a little less than a year. Wait, yes, it is a little less than a year. But I've made mistakes and I've done some things right. So I'm gonna just hurtle into this and hopefully you guys can find this useful. Now, before we get into this, you're probably gonna need a notepad and a pen, or go into your phone's notes. I like to use Google's Keep Notes, or maybe you're just chilling with a cup of tea, but today's podcast is very informative, so I just wanted you to know in case you wanted to take some notes. So where do you guys listen to my podcast? Do you listen to it while drawing? I like to listen to podcasts while drawing. Or do you gym and listen to podcasts? I find that super weird. I don't know if I'd feel unmotivated. I enjoy listening to podcasts, so let me know where you listen to podcasts. So let's just get into what we're talking about. Art school, doing it yourself, is going to be a bit confusing in the beginning, but this is exactly why I asked you to get a notepad out. It really depends what you're going to study and what you want to get into. Do you want to get into animation, book illustration, freelance art, the gaming industry? Honestly, what do you want to do? That's the first question you gotta ask yourself. When I first started learning art, I had no idea what I wanted to do. I just wanted to make YouTube videos as an artist and do cool brand deals. And I kinda still want to do that. I also learned that the animation and the gaming industry was a thing. I know, that's so embarrassing. But I didn't know, and if you didn't know until now, I'm telling you, you can draw for Disney, for Netflix, for animation industries, and for games like Horizon, Tomb Raider. I don't know if you could draw for Minecraft. What would you be drawing? Pixel art? I don't know, probably. So I learned that the people who made games and animation actually drew characters in some of my favorite games and shows, so that was a discovery that was really exciting. And so if you were like me in the beginning and you don't know where you want to start, but you just want to do art, then we can narrow down the list a little bit. Do you like drawing faces? Do you like sketches? Do you like graphics? Do you prefer traditional over digital? Do you like environments, or is manga and anime art more your thing? Stylization versus realism? What do you like about art and what is your comfort drawing, even if you're not good at it? See, these are some of the questions you really gotta ask yourself. And if you want to go back to that part of the podcast, re-listen to it, pause, answer those questions, write down those answers, or just listen through to this whole podcast, come back and start writing your answers. But for me, I knew it was faces, and I really enjoyed drawing faces. Well, I was no good at it. I just wanted to draw faces, and I kind of lumped figure drawing into it, so I didn't know that they were two separate things. But if you're like me and you didn't know, I think these are some excellent questions to ask yourself. But Again, let's say you have no idea what to draw and you like drawing, but you're just not really good at it. I think a good place would be to start looking at who you follow. Which artists are you more drawn to? If it's more faces and bodies, or is it food porn, or is it NSFW, or environment art, or flat graphics, or maybe it's furries? Those are some of the other questions you gotta ask yourself, and hopefully you've come to a conclusion. But if you are still lost, keep listening, because there's more than one way to find all of this out, honey. Just calm down, I got you. Now, before I give you a basic idea on where to start, I'll definitely say this. You need to keep an open mind. When I started drawing, all I wanted to do is find my art style when I couldn't even fucking draw. No matter what you're learning art, you need to learn realism. Unless, of course, you're going to be a graphic designer. I don't think you need to learn realism. But hey, I could be wrong. I don't do graphic design. And so, you need to learn realism, and also, you need to push your ego down. I told myself that when I first started learning to draw, I was like, I don't need to learn the Loomis method. Perspective? Sounds like maths. I'm not learning that. Realism? Why would I learn that? I need to find my style. I just sounded like a little brat that wasn't willing to learn, and the truth is, you have to learn everything you don't want to learn to find a style, to figure out how to achieve your artistic dreams, and break the rules, because that's all what art is about, breaking the rules. Creativity is breaking the rules. So, when we talk about being open to learning and being open to a lot of things, I created a lot of podcast episodes on the idea of being open and all of that, so I'll link the whole playlist down below, and y'all can check that out if you're interested. So, what I want to say is, by this point, you probably have figured out, or you're still listening to the podcast and seeing where this goes and whether you're going to make your list, whatever it could be. Just keep listening. By this point, I can point you in the following direction. You're most likely going to need to learn the following topics, in preferably the following order. Why I say the following order is because order in which you learn topics matter. You can't learn color theory if you don't know how to draw. You can't learn one thing if you can't build another, if you can't do another. Drawing is like building a house. You need to build a good house. Start with a good, stable foundation. And that is what I'm going to give you. A foundation I didn't take in the beginning. And if you're really open, which you should be, if you really want to pursue art as a professional, you really should be open to learning. Now, before I give you the list of things you need to learn in what order, I'm also going to give you a little bit of a disclaimer. I'm giving you this list with some artists I think, personally, have good examples of this. So, obviously, you need to figure out what you think is good. What are you really drawn to, and who do you want to draw like? I'm not saying steal styles, I'm saying who do you want to do master studies of, that type of thing. You'll understand more as I get through this. Number 1, lines. No matter what kind of artist you are, you're gonna need to learn lines, and not have those chicken scratchy lines that look like your dog tried to draw it. Go put Bobby away. You need to sit down and learn lines. I don't give a fuck what artist you are, learning lines are really vital. You need to aim for clean and smooth lines. The best people to look at for lines is Cameron Mark Art, Sarah Faber, Sarah as in S-A-R-A, Slice of Ice, and Mark Brunette. And I know that Sarah Faber and Mark Brunette have both YouTube channels, so you can also learn through video. I also know that Sarah Faber has a Patreon, so if you guys were going to take it to the next level of studying their lines, that is a good way. But you can honestly study lines through pictures and practicing every single day. If you want a good start, you need clean, smooth, and silky lines, because drawing anything will be so difficult if you have little wobbly lines that look like a cockroach ran across the page. I know that it's not easy, and trust me, I was there, and I still sort of am, but what I need to say is that with consistent daily practice, I got better, and now my lines look so much more confident than before. And no, you don't need a $300 course to help you with that. Just study good examples of other artists and the artists I pointed out. Yeah, guys, I kind of spent $300 on a course to learn to draw pretty lines. It is what it is, and we all do things, questionable things. I'm joking. The second thing you need to know is measuring proportions. You're definitely going to need to learn how to measure, because measuring is super important to get better and improving and getting paid in 1 year to 16-ish months. I mean, that is if that is your time span of wanting to become an artist that actually monetizes their passion. That is what we're all working towards here. So, but if you have more time and to learn, you know, if you have the right circumstances and you have the right time. So in terms of measuring proportions, I know Mark Brunette and Proco has some decent videos on how to learn that stuff and what measuring techniques you should learn. But I'm going to point out some important ones that I can explain without visuals. Symmetry. That means something being perfectly equal on both sides. Literally perfect. I'm not kidding you. Especially for things like faces, this is super important. But in terms of body, if you had a perfectly symmetrical body, you wouldn't have a dynamic figure. So it's obviously different for different things, but it's important that you learn symmetry. Another great way to learn how to measure proportions is using your drawing tool, whatever that may be, stylus, pencil, paintbrush, etc. to measure. And I don't think you should be starting with a paintbrush as soon as you start studying art. I think you should be starting with a pencil. You should be learning how to draw. This is the most important thing. A lot of artists just jump into learning how to paint without learning how to draw. How can you learn how to paint when you don't know how to put the lines down? It's really difficult. It's a really confusing thing, and you're going for a very advanced method, which is only going to cause you frustration as an artist. And we do not need frustration. No. But if you are struggling with art frustration, 3 weeks ago, I made a podcast on how to deal with it, so check it out. It's probably linked somewhere on the screen or in the description. It'll make the garden gnomes happy, you know? Let's get back to talking about proportions and measuring them. Digital is such a good and easy way to learn how to measure. Why? Because digital is very forgiving. You can learn so much better because you can trace over the reference to look for certain shapes and see whether you have those shapes in your drawing. There's the canvas flip feature. Artists who are traditional would have to use a mirror to see the flip, or your phone camera, because it automatically flips your art for you. But this is why I would suggest you to learn digital art, because you can use so many of those tools. I know as a traditional artist you can use the grid method. I personally don't believe in the grid method because I feel like it's too analytical and it can cause a lot of stiff work. That is the way I feel. The third most important thing to learn is perspective. Perspective is a thing I did not want to learn whatsoever. It seemed impossibly hard and just felt like I was doing trigonometry all over again. So I never watched a video on YouTube on it. So I can't give you exact videos on this, but honestly, what a $300 course has taught me is you need different perspective for different things. I currently only know 2-point perspective because that is all that is needed for learning to draw faces, but different art needs different perspectives. I know Proco has some good videos and an entire Draftsman podcast on just perspective. I've even seen some really old bad graphic videos by I think it was Robert Beverly Hale on perspective. So yeah, you can learn the shit off of YouTube. So that's about the basics, but before we go on talking about other things you guys would need to do for a DIY art school, what I want to say is I spent a lot of money on an art course. It wasn't necessarily necessary, but it did teach me that I couldn't be stubborn and I couldn't put my ego on top and think that I didn't need certain things to learn. Unfortunately, you do, and a lot of it isn't so difficult if you have the right resources. YouTube is a really big platform that can give you that. And we're going to discuss more about where to get certain resources and who to study for all these things. So the basics that I just mentioned are all the basics you should learn before learning anything else. I'd say spend a decent 1 month to 1.5 months, maybe even more, on this because it's the foundation. And you don't want a rocky foundation. And one other thing I would say is as soon as you learn a new thing, whatever it is, keep going back to your foundation, revising those things, practicing those things again, because it will help strengthen the rest of your drawing skills. Y'all, the pee breaks from drinking water, like making podcasts really just puts a strain on your voice to when you're speaking constantly for a certain period of time, like, oh my god. But anyway, let's just keep talking about DIY art school. Now that we've gotten the basics and hopefully you figure out what you want to do, or if you haven't, just go with the flow. I didn't know what I wanted to do and I still am experimenting and stuff. I do know I'm enjoying making podcasts, so if you enjoy listening to them, it would really help support me and my little garden gnome so that they can be fed. If you could subscribe and turn on the notification bell, sharing this podcast with your friends could help me too, especially your art friends that you're gonna need to learn art with. So as I said, if you haven't figured out what you want to do, just go with the flow. Learn something you enjoy, watch other artists' videos, and listen to art podcasts so you get an idea of what in the art industry might pique your interest. Also listen to my podcast. It's going to help you when you draw. It'll help you with things like art frustration, how to get critique, and now I'm creating this series on DIY art school from someone who's currently doing their own art school. But at this point, you may be asking me, should I be paying $300 like you did for an art course? And I'm gonna say no. I don't regret buying the course. I don't regret spending the money because everything happens for a reason, and there's a lot of things I learned, including that you don't know everything, and there's a point where you're gonna realize that. So you don't have to unless you have the money to throw away. Then go ahead. I didn't have the money to throw away. It was just probably just something I just felt I needed. So I ain't stopping you. Just do it. If you feel like it's money worth investing, then that's okay. Remember, the best thing you can do for yourself is investing in yourself. And if you feel an art course is a good way to invest in yourself, do it. But I'd say if I did it again, if I wasn't so stubborn, if I didn't have the ego I had from not so long ago, but I'd say YouTube is the best place. I'm gonna give you a brief outline on all the places just based off of what you may be interested in. I'll also give you some art books. You can find the Loomis art books all for free online. I know that for sure. You can download them, just search Loomis, I think it's like Loomis Hands and Head and Feet. I don't know, Loomis Figure Drawing, Loomis Having Fun with a Pencil, PDF, download it. If you can, print it out and use that. If you can't, you can just view it from your phone, laptop, tablet, whatever you're using, and look at that. I don't know any other art books since I'm not a big art book fan, since I don't learn very well with it. In the Art Frustration podcast, we did speak about this. So the places I recommend on YouTube, the channels, is I recommend Proco for all artists. In terms of digital art, I recommend Brad Colbo, Cynic's Design, I think I mentioned him before, Nadia Axel, Ethan Becker, Ergo Josh. I'm not gonna lie about Ergo Josh. He's really humble and I think you can relate to him, and he really talks about like what you beginning, because he was once a beginner himself and still feels like one. I think he does. So, he gives a lot of tips. Mark Brunette, definitely recommend Mark Brunette. He's also got this humor to him. It's really nice. Ross Draws, just try avoiding his fun challenges kind of videos. Although you can learn stuff, you'll have to be a little bit more proactive to learning. I also do recommend Angel Ganev, and not because I learned from him, but because I genuinely improved from him in general before I bought his $300 course. And if you want to learn the secrets of Chinese artists, I found an entire YouTube channel that has all their real-time processes, and it's called Digital Painting CG. I don't know if this is necessary, but I'll probably make a post on Instagram on all of these artists that I mentioned. So, go follow me there if you're ready for the post so you can be more specific and see what exactly I'm talking about. If you use a specific program like Photoshop, Clip Studio Paint, and yes, please don't come for me, I know what Clip Studio Paint did. They became a subscription service and a lot of people are mad about it. Anyway, if you use programs like Krita, Procreate, whatever the fuck you use, you're probably going to need tools for that. You're probably going to need some kind of tutorial to help you navigate that, especially as a beginner. And I think for you, the best thing you should do is just search up Photoshop or the actual channel. Clip Studio Paint has an actual channel, Krita has an actual channel, and Procreate has an actual channel. They have tons of videos, tons of long videos on how you paint in those apps, how you sketch in those apps, how do you create webtoons, animations, how to use 3D things if they use 3D things in their programs. So check that out. I think it's really useful. Now, when it comes to traditional art, there's so much that you need to learn, and it honestly depends what you want to do. But I suggest you all know how to at least use a pencil and sketch. I mentioned this before. Drawing and sketching should be your strongest point in the beginning. So here's some channels to learn sketching with a pencil. Obviously Proco. That one is unavoidable. Also, drawing and painting, the virtual instructor, Dan Birdshaw and Paul Priestley. I remember when I was starting out, Paul Priestley was a really good example. He's kind of old, but he has some really good videos. And these are some really good, solid videos to help you get started. I don't know the exact amount of mediums there are with paint, but I'm just going to say that there are gouache, acrylic, watercolor, and oil. These are the 4 I know. And you'll definitely need to learn color theory. So the best places and people to learn color theory from is Proco. Are we surprised there? I don't think so at this point. Because if you are, Gardenome is gonna stare at you strange. Mark Brunette. Marco Bucchi. He's literally the master of color. I don't know anybody who doesn't mention he's color guy. I could be saying Marco Bucchi wrong though, so please forgive me. After you got the foundation of color theory, oh wait. For color theory, you'll probably need to know black and white values, Yes. Yeah, I didn't really see a lot of channels that teach that, but Proco. So after you get the foundation of color theory, you're gonna need to pick a medium. Oh, and by the way, digital artists also need color theory, just to drop that in there. But we're gonna go back to the traditional artists again. I'm not gonna lie, I don't know a lot of traditional art mediums very well because traditional art supplies are really expensive. You know what I mean. But I'm just gonna mention watercolor. It is a medium that needs a lot of patience and it isn't very forgiving. And trust me, I've fucked up a lot of paintings because the first coat was too wet or too saturated. So really watch a lot of videos, take notes, and practice a lot will help. For example, Macchino, I don't know how to say her name properly. Her videos are intuitive and you can follow along with her, and I can't really point you in any other direction after her since I haven't watched a lot from other artists, but she is one I suggest. I'm not going to give any more videos for other types of artists mediums who are traditional because I'm less experienced and I don't want to give you the wrong information. But from here we're going to move straight into animation, and this is something I really know a lot about because I've been doing a lot of research into it. So in terms of animation, you should be looking at podcasts. And guys, I have my cat here, so forgive me if purring sounds actually get into the podcast. He's just here to say hi. His name is Snowy, and he's just a fluffy little cat. She's so fluffy. So in terms of learning about animation and the animation industry, I would suggest listening to podcasts from ArtStation, Bobby Chu, Creative Block. They're a good way to get an idea of the industry. But for actual learning, I suggest Brad Colbo, BAM Animation, Mew Tripled. Mew Tripled is like Michelle Lamb. She's perfect for learning about the industry and storyboarding. Tip Tut, they're also really good. Ethan Becker, he'll help you with getting your work to an idea of what the industry needs. Also, Lulu Sketches, another person with a perspective on the animation industry, on environment art, character design, and visual development, because she's worked for Netflix. No, she's not worked for Netflix. She's worked for Disney on Tangled the series and other corporations that I've completely forgotten. Howard Wimshurt is another one, and Aaron Blaze. If you don't know him, you're losing out. And Tonico Pantoja, yeah, probably not sure saying the pronunciation of that. Also, Modern Day James. Modern Day James also has a Discord, including Ethan Becker. He also has a Discord, so that's something you need to keep in mind. Anyway, this is all the advice I can give you, what you need to focus on if you're learning all your art stuff from home. This is what I have to give you. So these are things you need to focus on. And anyways, don't forget to consistently practice one thing before moving to the next, because if you have a bad foundation, you're just going to build your art on wonky foundations and you're going to have really bad art. If you need any more help with figuring out what you need in the industry, you know where to find me on Instagram. Anyways, my cat is here with the garden gnomes and me, and we're just gonna say bye to you guys for now. Subscribe on YouTube and click the notification bell before you miss out on next week's episode, and the garden gnomes are gonna be very, very sad. And follow me on Anchor and Spotify. Click the notification bell there, and again, follow me on Instagram. I'm always posting tips, supporting artists every Friday with Friday Artist Support, sharing your art. And by the way, it stays permanent on my highlights, so that's super useful if you're trying to get found. And I'm also supporting you guys during Inktober, so follow me there. I love connecting with you guys there, and I feel like I'm building a really lovely and amazing community with you guys there. I hope this helps you. I struggled with this very topic, and these are the things I would have wanted to know. I'll see you guys next time. Bye! Bye, little snows. Little snows want to say bye. Little snows. He's so fluffy. Fluffy snows.